Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our 2016 middle school band, Whitehall Middle School Band concert. My name is Mr. Raab, and I have the pleasure of being the band director for Whitehall District Schools and our wonderful middle school students. So thank you so much for coming and welcome, and we really hope you enjoyed tonight's performance. On stage before you right now is our 6th grade band. These students have been learning their instruments for the first time since September. And these kids on stage meet in 2 separate classes. I see them split up into woodwinds, which are flute and clarinets, and also our trumpets, trombones, and percussion for our brass and percussion class. And so the next piece we're going to play is going to just feature our trumpets, trombones, and our percussion, so that you guys can get a chance to hear what those instruments sound like together. And later on in our set, we'll have the woodwinds just play for you as well. The first song we played for you was Lightly Row. The song that the trumpets and trombones and percussion will play is a tune called Mozart Melody. Thank you very much. Our next song we're going to play for you is Jingle Bells. Jingle Bells. And so what we're going to do for you tonight is kind of take you through the progression of what our students have been doing since September. And I know you guys have had the pleasure of hearing them practice at home and hearing them progress over the last few months. And so over the last 2 weeks, the students have gotten together. We've joined the classes, so they've been able to play together as a whole band. And so I'm going to kind of take you through what they've been learning within each one of these pieces. So with Jingle Bells, we started talking about dynamics. And dynamics are simply the volume of the music, the volume that we play. So in this piece, they learned their first 2 dynamic levels, which were mezzo forte, which means medium loud, and forte, which is a good, strong, loud sound. So, Jingle Bells. Thank you once again. Our next piece we're going to play for you is a traditional Hanukkah song entitled My Dreidel. And this piece, we started talking about pickup notes. And pickup notes are notes. It could be any kind of note, half note, whole note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, 32nd note for the musicians in the audience. They could be any notes that occur before a measure, before a piece of music that leads into the next measure. And so in My Dreidel, you'll hear a series of pickup notes. Here's My Dreidel. Our next piece is a song called Skip to My Loop, which many of you probably know. And in Skip to My Loop, we learned a new rhythm, and we learned 8 notes. And 8 notes are notes that are a bit quicker than the other notes that we've been playing. They are half of the value of a quarter note. And so with 8 notes, we learned in this piece, they just go a lot quicker. And so the students have to figure out how those rhythms work together along with all the other notes that they have learned up to that point. And so here's Skip to My Loop. Now the next piece we're going to play is going to feature our woodwinds, okay, and which are our flutes and our clarinets. And this melody that we're going to play for you is a tune called Our Lee. And this is also a 2-part piece. So for the first, I would say, the first month and a half of school, the students were playing, everything they played was the same. They all played the same part, so they're all playing in unison. And so when we learned Our Lee, we talked about harmony, and we talked about 2-part harmony where the students are playing different parts at the same time. And so the flutes and clarinets are going to play Our Lee, and just listen to how the 2 parts fit together. They're doing a great job. Our Lee. Thank you very much, our flutes and clarinets. Now, for both pieces, the percussion have been playing for each of those. And so I do want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about the percussion instruments. Our gentlemen in the back, they have been playing, they started off playing keyboards, but they've now actually been learning about 5 or 6 different instruments, along with playing their bells, which are set up just like a piano keyboard. They've also now been learning the bass drum, the snare drum, they've been learning suspended cymbal, and as well as sleigh bells and triangles, so they're starting to learn all these fun instruments that they get to play along with the group. So Percussion's been doing a great job with all the different instruments that they're getting to learn with the group. Our next piece we're going to play for you is Ode to Joy. This is now a part that they will all play, a piece they will all play together. And each section of the band now has their own part. So you'll hear as we go through this tune, there's some 2-part harmony, and then some of the groups split into even 3 different parts at times. So, Ode to Joy. Don't they sound great? Don't they sound great? It's just always exciting. It's always exciting to me. It never gets old. We get here on the stage and I think back, like as I'm standing here, I think back to day one, when some of the sounds coming out of the band room were different. But to now, to hear them play, to where we're making music together, and we're all playing the same notes, and all that, it's just awesome. It's very, very exciting. So I'm really, really, really proud of all the kids on stage, as well as our 7th and 8th graders. But for only having been playing their instruments since September, I'm so, so proud of our 6th graders on stage right now. So great job. We have one more song we're going to share with you this evening, and that is Up on a Housetop. And Up on a Housetop kind of now is a combination of a few of the things that we've learned in class, dynamics, eighth notes. In this piece, we started talking about articulation, which is how the students use their embouchure and their tongues to make the sound on their instruments. And so we talked about accents with this piece, which are notes that will kind of pop out and be a little bit louder than some of the other notes. And so our last tune for you is Up on a Housetop. This is now our 7th grade band on stage before you. That was a piece called Colors of Christmas, which is just kind of a combination of a few different holiday tunes for you. And so I want to just take a moment to acknowledge our students that performed on the sides of the stage. Miss Audrey Johnson, Mr. David Conrad, and Mr. Kieran Cook, Ty Mahoney, and Anna Hunt. Can we give them one more round of applause, please? I realize my mistake. Sarah Van Dam and Shelby Knoll, not David and Kieran. Let's give them a round of applause. David and Kieran will be later, don't worry. But it takes a lot of courage, not only to get on stage and play, but to get together just with 2 people and play in front of all of you. So I'm really proud of those kids for their courage to play for you tonight, and they did a great job. The next piece we're going to play for you is a piece called At the Feast of Stephen, which is an arrangement based on Good King Wenceslas. At the Feast of Stephen. Thank you very, very, very much. We have one more piece we'd like to play for you, but before we do that, I'd like to take a moment and acknowledge some of our students that participated in Solo and Ensemble Festival just a couple of weeks ago. So if you participated in Solo and Ensemble, if you could please stand. Ms. Audrey Johnson playing the same piece that she played for you this evening. I'm playing the piano. Ms. Kiara Moore, Ms. Carly Jura, Hannah Cronin, Jennifer Mark, Ms. Taylor Gee, and Alyssa Taylor. All of these students participated at Coopersville Middle School and did a fantastic job, and I'm really proud of them. And so I want to give them a round of applause for their extra efforts. Okay, if we have one more piece for you, and so we got a message from the North Pole that things aren't going so well at the North Pole this year, and one of the elves kind of got kicked out this year and made it here to our middle school, and so we want to share this piece with you just to kind of give you an in as to what's been going on at the North Pole. And so our last piece we're going to share with you is entitled "Diary of a Grumpy Elf."
Dear Diary, it's me, Leon. That's Noel's spelled backwards. It's the week before Christmas and today was my first day on the job. Today's temperature reached 25 degrees below zero. That heat wave put Santa in a bad mood. Dear Diary, today was my second day on the job. We made wooden soldiers. Instead of marching in step, the soldiers burned ranks, drew muskets, and began to fight. Dear Diary, today was my third day working for Mr. C, and I got the never-ending job of decorating the castle. I never want to see a brawl of holly as long as I live. Dear Diary, it's day 4 and the new reindeer harnesses are right defective. Instead of having sleigh bells, they came with cowbells. Dear Diary, it's Christmas Eve and the work is finally done. In spite of all the troubles, I'm lucky to be a Christmas elf. Happy Christmas to all and all a good night.
Thank you very, very much. And once again, thank you for your patience. We got everything sorted out. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. On stage before you is now our 8th grade band, and this is our last group of the evening for our middle school portion of the concert this evening. I would also like to take this time to recognize the students on the sides of the stage for the performances. Mr. David Conrad, Mr. Kieran Cook this time, and Mr. Avery Wagner on piano. Let's give them another round. Okay, that first piece was a piece entitled Santa at the Symphony, which combined holiday tunes with the work of Mozart, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, and Brahms, and so the kids had a lot of fun playing that piece. We have a lot of classical music nerds in this group, and so they really enjoyed playing that piece. I just called you nerds, yeah, I did. And the next piece we're going to play for you is completely different. It is a piece by Mr. Eric Morales. It is not a holiday themed piece. The piece is entitled December Sky. It's a very beautiful, slow, legato piece that Mr. Morales wrote, just kind of depicting, the sky in the wintertime. And so we can certainly relate to that as we have strong winters here in Michigan, and it's great when we see the sunshine in the middle of January and February. So we hope you enjoy December Sky. Thank you very much. A couple of quick things. We have one more piece for you that the 8th grade is going to play. And I would like to just take a moment to draw your attention to the program real quick. If you haven't had a chance to see just a couple of the reminders on the bottom of the front page for 7th and 8th grade band students, our next performance is going to be February 23rd. That's our pre-festival concert. That's where our 7th and 8th grade students and our high school students as well perform their festival music for you before we go to festival, which brings me to the next bullet on the reminders, which is our NSBOA District 7 Band Festival on March 9th. And once again, Montague is going to be hosting, which is fantastic because we just have to go across the river. And so we're really excited about that. That's on March 9th. The time for festival won't be sent out until after the holiday break, simply because we haven't finished the scheduling for that day yet. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you mark those dates on your calendar. Okay. We had just one of our students from 8th grade performing at solo and ensemble, but that was Mr. Avery Wagner, who performed his piano piece for you this evening. Avery received a Division I rating at solo and ensemble, so one more round of applause for Avery. And once again, I want to thank you so much for coming this evening. When we are finished at the end, after the 8th graders take their bow and the curtain closes, you'll be dismissed, and we really want to wish you a happy holiday season. We did bring cookies. There are cookies and refreshments out in the Viking Center. Just a couple of quick things about that. We want to, because our students did such an amazing job this evening, I want to ask that the students, after they get packed up, that the students are able to get cookies first. But with that, students, make sure you're all listening. We're taking 2 cookies max, not a handful. Okay? Because everybody else that's out here wants a cookie as well. Okay, so students, take 1 or 2 max, and move on down the line. Okay? The high school concert will begin right at 8 o'clock, so we really hope you can stay and enjoy our high school concert as well. But once again, I want to say thank you for coming, and I want to wish you a very happy holiday season. Thank you so much.